The human warrior went to an alien wedding as a guest and wed the king's eldest daughter. Towering crystal towers caught the light of the twin suns, glowing like giant lanterns in the sky. Floating gardens drifted gently over shimmering rivers, and creatures with wings like painted silk moved gracefully through the air. Alex had traveled to many worlds as a human warrior, but Zyphora felt different. It felt alive in a way that made him both nervous and excited. He adjusted his uniform and checked his gear one last time. The invitation to the wedding had been unexpected. Humans rarely received invitations to events of the Zyphorian royal family. The king, a tall, feathered creature with deep blue eyes, had personally sent it after hearing of Alex's victories in the interstellar peacekeeping missions. It was a gesture of respect and perhaps curiosity. The shuttle doors hissed open and Alex stepped onto the platform. The air smelled of flowers he could not name, sweet but sharp. His human senses struggled to take it all in. The sound of laughter, music, and strange instruments filled the air. Zyphorians moved with a grace that made humans seem clumsy. Their long, feathered arms waved in complicated gestures, and their voices sang in harmonies Alex could not match. A small group of human diplomats followed him, looking just as awed. "I've never seen anything like this," whispered Lieutenant Chen. "It's beautiful." Alex nodded but did not speak. He had a habit of observing first, acting second. In his line of work, this habit had saved his life more times than he could count. The royal palace rose before them, larger than any human city Alex had ever visited. Its walls shimmered like liquid glass, and huge gates opened as if sensing his arrival. Guards with sharp talons and brilliant plumage stepped aside, bowing in a gesture Alex instinctively returned. Inside, the wedding preparations were in full swing. Tables floated midair, laden with glowing fruits and foods that seemed to shimmer as if alive. Guests from dozens of species laughed, talked, and danced. Some hovered with anti-gravity belts, others walked on limbs that seemed impossible to humans. Alex felt slightly out of place, his boots making loud thuds on the smooth palace floors. "Commander Mercer," a voice called. Alex turned to see a Zyphorian official approaching, feathers brushing elegantly against the floor. "I am Taylor, the master of ceremonies. You honor us with your presence." Alex offered a polite bow, careful not to bend too far. "Thank you, Taylor. I am honored to be here." Taylor's eyes glinted. "The humans are known for their courage. Let us hope you find Zyphorian customs equally challenging." Alex smiled faintly. "I can adapt." The official led Alex and his delegation through corridors decorated with floating lights. The walls seemed alive, displaying moving patterns like flowing water. Everywhere he looked, Alex felt the strange mix of tradition and innovation. The Zyphorians were proud of their history, yet they embraced technology and magic. He wasn't sure which it was, seamlessly. Finally, they arrived at the main hall. The wedding ceremony had not yet begun, but the room was already breathtaking. A gigantic dome rose above them, covered with holographic stars and floating orbs. At the center, a platform made of crystal awaited the bride and groom. Alex's eyes were drawn immediately to a figure near the platform, a young Zyphorian woman with feathers of deep violet and eyes like molten gold. She moved with a quiet dignity, observing the preparations without speaking. The official noticed Alex's gaze. "That is Princess Lyra, the king's eldest daughter," Taylor explained. "She is to be wed today, though the choice of partner has long been a matter of political discussion." Alex's brow furrowed. "Political discussion?" Taylor nodded. "The king often arranges marriages to strengthen alliances, but Princess Lyra, she has her own mind. She does not always follow tradition." Alex felt a spark of interest. He had met many leaders and diplomats, but rarely someone so young yet so self-assured. Before he could think more, a sudden noise echoed through the hall. Guests were gathering near the doors. Alex followed instinctively. He saw a group of Zyphorian warriors performing a traditional greeting ceremony. Their feathers flared, their wings spread wide, and their voices created a low, harmonic chant that resonated through the hall. It was a display of power, grace, and honor. Alex realized this was his first test. The humans were expected to participate, or at least show respect. He stepped forward carefully, raising his hands in a mirrored gesture. The warriors studied him for a moment, then allowed him to complete the movement. A small smile appeared on Taylor's face. "Not many humans understand our greetings so quickly," he said. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of music, food, and strange games. Alex found himself both fascinated and challenged. Zyphorian culture emphasized respect, strategy, and intelligence in every action. Every conversation felt like a test, every glance held meaning. Yet he was not afraid. During a lull in the festivities, Alex wandered closer to the floating gardens. There, Princess Lyra stood alone, her gaze focused on a river of light flowing between the platforms. She did not notice him at first. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Alex said softly, careful not to startle her. Lyra turned, and for a moment Alex was caught off guard by the intensity in her eyes. "Yes," she replied. Her voice was melodic yet firm. "Most guests never notice the details. They are too busy looking for grandeur." "I notice details," Alex said honestly. "It helps me understand a place and its people." Lyra studied him for a moment. "You are human?" "Yes," Alex said, "and a warrior, but I prefer to observe before I act." "Interesting," she said, tilting her head. "You may survive here longer than most humans." Alex allowed himself a small smile. "I hope to. I've learned that courage alone does not always save you, understanding does." A moment of silence passed, comfortable and strange all at once. Alex had met many rulers, diplomats, and soldiers, but Princess Lyra's presence was different. There was no arrogance in her stance, no demand for deference. She was simply observing, judging, learning. A kindred spirit, he thought, in a world so alien. Suddenly, a loud bell rang. The ceremony was about to begin. Alex straightened, his eyes scanning the hall. Guests were taking their positions, and the human delegation followed suit. He felt a mixture of excitement and tension. This was more than a wedding. It was a dance of diplomacy, courage, and skill, one that would test him in ways he had not imagined. As the Zyphorian trumpets sounded, Alex realized that his life as a simple human warrior had changed. The wedding was no longer just an invitation. It was a challenge, a test of character, and perhaps the beginning of an adventure unlike any he had faced before. And somewhere in the crowd, Princess Lyra's eyes followed him, her expression unreadable yet undeniably interested. Alex took a deep breath. He was ready. The grand hall buzzed with excitement as the wedding ceremony began. Floating lights traced slow circles in the air, reflecting on the crystal floors. Guests from dozens of worlds lined the galleries, watching with fascination. At the center of the hall, the ceremonial platform awaited, glimmering under the twin suns that shone through the massive glass dome above. Commander Alex Mercer walked carefully, his eyes scanning every detail. He had learned quickly that on Zyphora, nothing was just decoration. Every gesture, every object, and even every glance had meaning. A small misstep could be seen as disrespect. Yet Alex was not afraid. He was here to observe, to learn, and to honor the customs of this alien world. Taylor, the master of ceremonies, stepped forward, his feathers shimmering in soft light. "Honored guests, today we celebrate not only the union of our princess, Lyra, but also the harmony of all worlds present," he announced. His voice carried clearly across the hall, deep and melodic, echoing against the crystal walls. "As is our custom, all visitors are invited to witness the ceremonial duel. It honors courage, skill, and respect." Alex's attention sharpened. A duel. He had expected some ritual dances, but a duel was something he could understand. It was a test, a challenge, and a chance to show his abilities. He followed Taylor's gaze and saw the Zyphorian champions, their feathers bristling, eyes focused. They were elite warriors trained from birth in the arts of combat. "You will participate," Taylor said, noticing Alex's interest. "It is tradition that all honored guests accept or bow respectfully and observe. You may choose human warrior." Alex straightened. "I will participate," he said, his voice steady. Gasps spread through the gallery. Humans were not known for understanding Zyphorian traditions, and most would have declined. But Alex's decision carried a quiet confidence that immediately drew attention. The duel was simple in structure but complicated in execution. Two opponents faced each other, and they demonstrated skill, strategy, and courage in turns. It was not meant to harm seriously, but to honor strength and intelligence. Each movement had meaning, each strike and block a story. Alex stepped onto the platform, feeling the slight hum of energy beneath his feet. The first Zyphorian champion was tall, with silver feathers that sparkled like starlight. His eyes were sharp, assessing Alex as though he were a puzzle. "Human," the champion said in a low tone, "you will learn quickly or fall easily." Alex smiled faintly. "I've trained for this," he replied. "I will honor your customs." The duel began. The Xiphorian warrior moved with speed that made Alex's heart rate increase. Each strike came with precision, each movement calculated to test his reflexes. But Alex was not just strong, he was observant. He studied the patterns, noticing slight pauses, shifts in weight, and the way the opponent's wings moved before a strike. Using a combination of agility and experience, Alex blocked, dodged, and countered. He did not aim to humiliate his opponent, only to demonstrate skill and respect. The crowd gasped and cheered as the human warrior moved with surprising elegance, almost as if he were dancing with the Xiphorian champion. Princess Lyra watched from the gallery, her golden eyes wide. She had seen many warriors try and fail, their confidence shattered in minutes. Yet Alex was different. He moved not with arrogance, but with awareness. Each decision was careful yet daring. She found herself drawn to his presence, intrigued by his courage and intelligence. The duel continued, challenging Alex with new opponents, each more skilled than the last. With every encounter, he adapted, learning the Xiphorian style in real time. His strikes became sharper, his blocks smoother, and his awareness of the environment heightened. The floating platforms, the energy beneath the floor, even the weight of the air, he used all of it to his advantage. By the final round, the crowd was fully engaged. Whispers of astonishment spread through the gallery. "The human is unlike any visitor we have seen," a Xiphorian elder murmured. "He honors our traditions with skill and respect." The last champion approached, the king himself watching closely. This warrior was not only trained in combat, but also carried the authority of his lineage. The duel began, tense and silent, each movement measured. Alex faced the final challenge with calm determination. He blocked, parried, and struck in harmony with the rules, never underestimating his opponent. Finally, in a move that balanced courage and respect, Alex made a calculated strike that signaled victory without harm. The crowd erupted in applause. Even the Xiphorian warriors, known for their pride, nodded with approval. Taylor approached, feathers brushing gently against the floor. "You honor our traditions, human," he said. "Few outsiders could achieve such harmony of skill and respect." Alex nodded, feeling a surge of pride. Yet his eyes sought Princess Lyra, who had been watching intently. She smiled faintly, a mixture of surprise and admiration. For the first time, Alex realized that this duel was more than a test of skill. It was a bridge between worlds, a symbol of understanding and cooperation. Later, as the ceremony continued, Alex and Lyra found a quiet moment in the palace gardens. Floating flowers drifted around them, and the soft hum of energy from the palace walls created a calm atmosphere. "You fought well," Lyra said, her voice gentle. "I did not expect a human to move with such understanding. Most would either stumble or show arrogance." Alex shrugged modestly. "I only tried to respect your ways. I have learned that courage is nothing without understanding." Lyra tilted her head, considering him. "You are different from what I imagined. Most humans are loud, fast, and unpredictable. You are steady, careful, and yet daring when it counts. I suppose that comes from being a warrior," Alex said with a faint smile. "We survive by observing, learning, and acting at the right moment." Lyra's golden eyes met his. "Perhaps you could teach me some of that one day," she said softly, though her words carried weight beyond casual conversation. Alex felt a strange warmth at her words. He had faced countless enemies, but this moment, this connection, was unexpected. It was not a battle of strength or skill, but a meeting of minds. The evening ended with music, laughter, and celebrations that seemed to stretch into the stars. Guests from many planets mingled, sharing stories and marveling at the wonders of Xiphora. Yet Alex's thoughts kept returning to the duel, to Lyra, and to the subtle understanding that had begun between them. As he prepared to rest for the night, he realized that this was only the beginning. The wedding was more than a ceremony. It was a test of character, a challenge of respect, and an opportunity to bridge two worlds. And somewhere in the palace, Princess Lyra watched him, intrigued and curious about the human warrior who had faced tradition with courage, skill, and understanding. Alex Mercer, the human warrior, had arrived as a guest. But as the twin suns set over Xiphora, he felt a new chapter beginning, one that would test his heart as much as his strength, and perhaps lead to adventures he had never imagined. The next morning, the palace of Xiphora glowed under the soft light of twin suns. Floating gardens shimmered in the morning haze, and the crystal towers reflected the early light like giant prisms. Commander Alex Mercer woke early, as was his habit. Even on a day of celebration, he knew that a warrior could never afford to be unprepared. The wedding preparations continued, but the atmosphere had changed since the duel. The Xiphorians who had doubted him now nodded with quiet respect as he passed. Whispers of admiration followed him wherever he went. Yet Alex was not concerned with praise. His attention was caught by a different matter, Princess Lyra. During the early hours, she appeared in the floating gardens, standing near a stream of glowing water that curved through the palace courtyard. Her eyes were thoughtful, and when she saw Alex approaching, she tilted her head slightly. "You move through our halls with confidence," she said softly. "Few humans could manage it so well." Alex smiled, adjusting his uniform. "I only try to understand before acting. That is how I survive." Lyra considered him for a moment. "There is more to survival than skill with weapons. Sometimes it is about knowledge, patience, and knowing who to trust." Alex nodded. "I understand." Lyra's gaze drifted toward the palace towers. "Come," she said finally. "I want to show you something few guests see." Curious, Alex followed her through corridors lined with shifting light panels. They passed doors that opened to reveal workshops, libraries, and training halls filled with strange technology. Eventually, they arrived at a small, secluded room high in the palace towers. "This is one of my father's private chambers," Lyra explained. "I come here when I need to think." The room was filled with holographic maps of the galaxy, glowing in soft blue and green lights. Stars twinkled on the panels, showing planets, fleets, and distant threats. Alex's eyes widened as he took it all in. "You are studying the galaxy," he said, pointing at the maps. "Planning," Lyra nodded. "There are dangers even the king cannot ignore." The Virilith have been seen near the outer systems. They are clever, dangerous, and unpredictable. Some believe they would destroy any civilization in their path if unchecked. Alex frowned. "The Virilith, I've heard of them. They are predators, strong and fast." "Why are they near Xiphora?" Lyra's expression darkened. "They are scouting. We do not know their plans yet, but the threat is real. My father considers alliances and marriages to strengthen our position, but sometimes politics is not enough." Alex's mind raced. He had faced many enemies, but a species like the Virilith, intelligent, patient, and deadly, was a challenge unlike any other. "I can help," he said. "I have experience with unpredictable enemies and quick strategies." Lyra looked at him carefully, her golden eyes weighing his words. "Perhaps," she said finally. "But you must understand our ways. Even the strongest warrior must respect Xiphorian strategy. We fight not only with strength, but with planning, awareness, and patience." "I understand," Alex said firmly. "I have survived by observing first, acting second. I can adapt." A soft moment passed between them, quiet but charged with unspoken understanding. Lyra stepped closer to the maps, pointing to one of the glowing dots. "This system," she said, "has signs of Virilith movement. If they attack, they could reach Xiphora before reinforcements arrive. That is why my father considers political arrangements, to ensure our defenses are strong enough." Alex studied the map, feeling a surge of determination. "Then we need to prepare, not with politics, but with strategy and skill." Lyra nodded slowly, clearly impressed by his initiative. "Few outsiders think in such a way. Most are content to enjoy the spectacle." You think differently." They spent the morning studying the maps and discussing possible responses. Alex suggested patrol routes, security positions, and contingency plans. Lyra added insights about Xiphorian tactics, showing him the logic behind their ceremonial duels and training exercises. By midday, they had formed a plan, not just for defense, but for understanding the potential threat before it became immediate. Alex realized that this princess was more than a royal figure. She was a warrior in her own right, intelligent, courageous, and willing to challenge tradition when necessary. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Taylor, the master of ceremonies. His feathers were slightly ruffled, and his voice carried a hint of urgency. "Princess Lyra, Commander Mercer," he said, "there are reports of a scout near the palace perimeter. It may be a Virilith." Alex's heart quickened. "How close?" "Too close," Taylor said. "We need to act carefully. It is likely observing, testing defenses, and gathering information." Lyra turned to Alex. "Then you must decide. Will you stand and fight, or will you let our guards handle it?" Alex looked at her, seeing not fear but trust. "I will help," he said. "Together." They moved quickly through hidden corridors to the palace perimeter, where energy barriers shimmered in the sunlight. A small, predatory creature lurked near the edge of the gardens. Its body was sleek, its eyes glowing faintly, and its movements were silent but deliberate. Alex studied it carefully. "It's observing," he said. "It hasn't attacked yet, but if we don't act, it will report back to others." Lyra nodded, stepping beside him. "Then we act." Carefully, with respect and precision. Working together, they set up a simple trap using the energy barriers and the palace garden's natural features. The creature, curious and confident, approached. In a coordinated move, Alex and Lyra used light pulses and controlled energy fields to trap it without harm. The creature struggled for a moment before retreating into the forested areas beyond the palace, clearly defeated but alive. Alex exhaled, feeling the weight of the moment. "That was close," he said. "They are clever but not unbeatable." Lyra looked at him with a small smile. "You see what I mean about understanding and patience. Strength alone is not enough." Alex nodded, glancing at the horizon. "And now I understand why your world respects courage, strategy, and honor. It is not just tradition, it is survival." As the palace resumed its festivities, Alex and Lyra returned to the gardens, knowing that the day had changed. The wedding was still a celebration, but it was now a reminder that Zyphora faced real threats. And together, human and princess, they had taken the first step toward protecting it. Alex realized something important. This was more than a mission. This was a chance to connect, to learn, and perhaps to change the future of both their worlds. And as he looked at Lyra, standing tall and proud, he knew that the bond they had formed in these quiet moments would grow stronger with every challenge they faced. The twin suns set, casting long shadows over the crystal towers. The palace glimmered in the evening light, peaceful for now. But both Alex and Lyra knew that danger was coming and their journey was only beginning. For Commander Alex Mercer, the human warrior, the wedding had become far more than a ceremony. It had become a test of courage, intelligence, and trust, and the first step toward an adventure he had never imagined. The palace of Zyphora glowed under the pale light of the twin moons, the festivities from the wedding continuing late into the evening. Music floated on the air, and guests from multiple worlds celebrated with food, stories, and laughter. Commander Alex Mercer moved through the hall, keeping a careful eye on the palace perimeter. Even amid celebration, a warrior never stopped watching. Lyra moved beside him, her violet feathers catching the moonlight. She had returned from checking the palace defenses, her expression thoughtful. "The scouts may have returned," she said softly. "We cannot be too careful," Alex nodded. "I've observed the gardens and outer walls. The energy barriers are functioning, but we cannot rely solely on them. These Virilith are clever. If they come, it will be fast and silent." Lyra's golden eyes met his. "Then we must act if they approach, together." Before Alex could respond, a low hum resonated through the palace. The celebration froze as guests turned toward the source. Shadows shifted near the outer walls, moving unnaturally fast. The Virilith had arrived. The creatures were unlike anything Alex had faced before. Sleek, black-scaled predators with eyes that glowed faintly red, they moved silently, studying the palace defenses. Their movements were deliberate, cautious, yet confident. Alex recognized the signs immediately. These were not mindless attackers. They were scouts testing strength, learning patterns. Taylor rushed toward Alex, his feathers bristling in alarm. "Commander Mercer, this is not a drill. The Virilith have found us." Alex's mind raced. "Stay calm," he said. "They will test first. We need to protect the guests and the palace. Follow my lead." He moved quickly, gesturing for the human delegation to take defensive positions. Lyra joined him, her wings flaring as she readied her energy staff, a ceremonial weapon that combined tradition and technology. Alex studied the creatures. Their strategy was clear: find weakness, probe defenses, and retreat if challenged. They had not expected a human to intervene. The first Virilith lunged, moving faster than the eye could follow. Alex dodged instinctively, using his agility to roll beneath its strike. With precise timing, he activated a portable energy net, catching the creature without harming it. The Virilith hissed in surprise, then retreated momentarily, reassessing. Lyra struck beside him, her energy staff striking arcs of bright light that forced another Virilith back. Together, Alex and Lyra moved with unspoken coordination, a blend of human intuition and Zyphorian strategy. The palace guards joined, but the creatures were relentless. They darted in and out, testing for openings, circling the towers, and watching for distraction. Alex noticed the patterns immediately. "They are not attacking randomly," he shouted to Lyra. "They are learning. Every move counts." Lyra nodded, eyes narrowing. "Then we control the battlefield. Use the platforms, the barriers, the floating gardens. Make it a maze." Using quick thinking, Alex guided the guards to reposition, turning the palace courtyard into a controlled path. Floating platforms became choke points, energy barriers forced the V-Rylith into predictable movements, and the gardens created natural cover. The creatures, clever as they were, struggled against the coordinated defense. Amid the chaos, one V-Rylith tried to break through to the main hall. Alex intercepted it, moving with speed and precision. He dodged a swipe from its clawed arm and used a plasma baton to redirect its momentum, sending it crashing harmlessly into a floating barrier. Lyra followed immediately, immobilizing another with her energy staff. The guests watched from above, some terrified, some amazed. They had never seen a human and a princess fighting side by side, blending strategy, courage, and skill to protect lives. Alex realized that his role had shifted. He was no longer just a guest or observer. He had become the unplanned hero of the night. The V-Rylith regrouped for a final push, larger than before. Alex signaled to Lyra, "We end this together." With a nod, she stepped forward. Alex activated a series of energy traps he had prepared earlier, creating temporary walls and barriers that channeled the V-Rylith into a narrow corridor. Lyra struck with precise arcs of energy, driving the creatures back. Alex followed, using agility and skill to block and redirect attacks. Within minutes, the V-Rylith realized they could not advance and retreated, vanishing into the night with faint hisses and glowing eyes. Silence fell over the palace. The guests slowly emerged from hiding, their eyes wide with awe. Even the Zyphorian guards, proud and skilled, looked at Alex and Lyra with a new respect. Taylor approached, feathers slightly ruffled but his voice calm. "Commander Mercer, you have saved many lives tonight." "The king will want to speak with you," Alex nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "I only did what needed to be done." Lyra stepped closer, her golden eyes meeting his. "You were brave," she said. "Not many could have thought clearly in that situation." "You honored our traditions while protecting lives," Alex smiled faintly. "I learned from your people. Observation, patience, respect. It made the difference." As they walked through the palace halls, the celebration slowly resumed. The guests cheered for the duo who had defended the palace, turning fear into admiration. Alex realized something important. Courage alone had never won battles for him. Understanding, adaptation, and teamwork were what truly made the difference. Later in the royal chambers, the king stood before Alex and Lyra. His feathers were slightly ruffled, his golden eyes bright. "Commander Mercer," he said slowly, "tonight you have shown courage, skill, and wisdom. You have protected my people, my palace, and my daughter." "Few outsiders earn such honor," Alex bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, it was necessary. I only acted to protect lives." The king nodded, turning to Lyra. "And you, my daughter, have shown bravery as well. Together, you have proven that strength is more than muscle. It is unity, understanding, and heart." Lyra smiled softly, glancing at Alex. For a brief moment, the weight of tradition and expectation lifted. In the quiet of that royal chamber, it was not just the victory over the V-Rylith that mattered. It was the bond formed between human and princess, courage and wisdom intertwined. The king continued, his voice steady. "This night will be remembered in Zyphorian history. And Commander Mercer, you are now more than a guest. You are an honored protector of our people." Alex felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had never expected to be called a hero in a place so alien, yet here he stood. He realized that humanity's strength was not only in fighting, but in respect, intelligence, and courage that could cross worlds. As the twin moons shone over Zyphora, Alex and Lyra looked out over the palace gardens. The floating lights glimmered like stars, reflecting in the crystal towers. They had faced danger together, survived, and proven that unity between worlds was possible. Alex knew the challenges were not over. The V-Rylith threat remained. But for the first time, he felt a sense of belonging in this strange, beautiful world. He was no longer just a visitor. He was part of something bigger, a bridge between Earth and Zyphora, between human courage and alien tradition. And in the quiet after the battle, as the palace celebrated their victory, Alex realized something more personal. The bond he had formed with Lyra was growing stronger with every shared moment of danger, respect, and understanding. For Commander Alex Mercer, the human warrior, the night had begun as a simple wedding celebration. By dawn, it had become a story of heroism, trust, and connection, one that would change the course of his life forever. The morning after the Virilith attack was quiet. A soft glow from the twin suns filled the palace of Zyphora, and floating gardens reflected the light like rivers of gold. The palace, once filled with fear and tension, now hummed with relief. Guests had returned to the grand hall, cautiously smiling and sharing whispered stories of the night's events. Commander Alex Mercer walked among them, keeping a calm watch. Even heroes, he thought, must remain aware. Princess Lyra appeared beside him, her violet feathers catching the morning light. Her expression was calm but thoughtful. She had spent the night reviewing palace defenses, ensuring that the Virilith would not return. Alex noticed the subtle strength in her stance, the same quiet determination he had admired during their first moments together. "Commander Mercer," Lyra said softly, "last night you saved lives, our palace, and perhaps even our world. I cannot thank you enough." Alex shook his head modestly. "I only did what anyone should. You and your people are brave and skilled. I just acted alongside you." Lyra studied him, her golden eyes thoughtful. "Few outsiders show respect like you. Few humans understand our ways, let alone act with such courage and wisdom. You are different." Alex felt a warmth he could not name. For months, he had traveled across the galaxy, faced dangers, and met leaders of many worlds. Yet here on Zyphora, with Lyra beside him, he felt something entirely new, a sense of belonging, of connection. The king entered the hall, his feathers shimmering in the sunlight. The guests hushed instantly. Even after the Virilith attack, the king carried himself with authority, his presence commanding respect. He walked to Alex and Lyra, his golden eyes steady. "Commander Mercer," the king began, "you have done more than survive the night. You have proven courage, intelligence, and respect for Zyphorian tradition. You have earned the trust of our people and the admiration of my daughter." Alex bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I am honored. I did only what I must to protect your palace and guests." The king turned to Lyra, then back to Alex. "Tradition dictates that the union of our princess should strengthen alliances. But last night, actions spoke louder than words, and actions, in my eyes, are what define honor and worth. Lyra, you have seen this human act with courage and respect. What say you?" Lyra's gaze softened as she looked at Alex. She took a deep breath and stepped closer. "Father, I choose him, not because it is expected, but because he earned my respect, my trust, and my admiration." A stunned silence fell over the hall. Guests whispered, astonished at the unexpected turn. The king studied his daughter and then Alex, his expression thoughtful. Slowly, a smile spread across his face, radiant and approving. "Then it is settled," the king said. "Commander Mercer, if you accept, you shall wed my daughter and become an honored member of our people. You have shown that humanity is not only brave, but wise and respectful." Alex felt a rush of emotions. Never in his life had he expected to marry a princess, let alone one from an alien world. Yet as he looked at Lyra, standing tall, confident, and proud, he realized that this was not about ceremony or tradition. It was about respect, courage, and understanding, the very qualities that had drawn him to her from the beginning. "I accept," he said firmly. "It would be my honor." Lyra's smile widened and the hall erupted in cheers. Zyphorian guests, initially shocked, now celebrated the union, inspired by the courage and choice of both the human warrior and the princess. Humans in the delegation clapped quietly, smiling at their companion's unexpected destiny. Preparations for the wedding resumed, but this time with renewed energy and joy. The ceremonial platform, previously reserved for Lyra and her arranged suitor, was transformed to celebrate this new, unexpected union. Floating lights glimmered brighter than before, and flowers from every world were woven into elaborate patterns around the palace gardens. During the ceremony, Alex and Lyra stood together on the crystal platform, surrounded by guests from across the galaxy. The king performed the traditional rites, combining ancient Zyphorian symbols with gestures of trust and unity. Alex mirrored the motions, careful to honor each movement, each symbol, each meaning. As the final ritual approached, Lyra took Alex's hand. The energy between them was quiet but undeniable. Every glance, every gesture, reflected the bond formed over the past days, through observation, shared danger, and mutual respect. Alex realized that this marriage was not just a political or ceremonial act. It was the union of courage and wisdom, humanity and Xyphoria, trust and understanding. The king raised his voice, resonant and commanding. By the strength of our traditions, by the courage displayed in defense of our palace, and by the respect earned through actions, I declare Commander Alex Mercer and Princess Lyra united in partnership, trust, and honor. A cheer filled the palace. Floating lights shimmered like stars, reflecting in the crystal floors and towers. Guests celebrated the new couple, marveling at the unlikely, yet undeniable union between human and Xyphorian. Later, Alex and Lyra walked through the floating gardens, alone for a moment. The chaos of celebration had settled into quiet joy. Streams of light reflected from the crystalline rivers, and flowers drifted gently in the air. "You know," Lyra said softly, "I did not expect a human warrior to stand beside me in battle, let alone earn my trust. But you proved that courage, respect, and understanding matter more than anything else." Alex smiled, holding her hand gently. "I never imagined I would marry a princess from another world. But I knew that when actions speak louder than words, courage and respect build the strongest bonds." Lyra leaned slightly closer. "Then perhaps we will face the future together, not just as partners in ceremony, but as equals, warriors, and friends." Alex nodded. "Yes, together." The palace glimmered under the twin suns as evening approached, the celebrations winding down. The virilith threat, though still distant, had been postponed by their careful planning. The human warrior had not only survived, but he had become part of a world that once seemed alien, forging bonds of trust, respect, and unity. Alex realized that this marriage was only the beginning. There would be challenges, unknown worlds, potential enemies, and responsibilities beyond anything he had faced. Yet for the first time in his life, he felt ready. Not because he was stronger than any foe, but because he had learned to observe, to respect, and to act with courage and wisdom. As Alex and Lyra stood together on the palace balcony, watching the floating gardens shimmer in the last rays of the twin suns, the people of Xyphora looked on with admiration. The human warrior had become more than a guest. He had become a symbol, proof that humanity could rise to meet any challenge, adapt to any world, and forge bonds that spanned the stars. And as the night settled over Xyphora, Alex felt a quiet certainty in his heart. The wedding was complete, but the adventure was only beginning. Together, human and princess, they would face the galaxy's challenges, not just with courage, but with trust, respect, and the knowledge that actions, more than words, define heroes. Commander Alex Mercer had arrived as a guest. He had faced danger, won trust, and earned honor. And now, united with Princess Lyra, he had discovered something far greater than victory. He had found belonging, partnership, and the promise of adventures yet to come.